My mom said my wife couldn't come on the family cruise because she's not really one of us yet, even though I paid for the whole trip. So I canceled their tickets, cut the rent, and took the cruise without them. They showed up at the port and got denied boarding. Hey Reddit, I don't usually post. I'm more of a lurker. Read the drama, shake my head, move on. But this one? This one got personal. My family tried to play my wife like she was a stray I brought in off the street. So I reminded them who paid for their cruise, their rent, and half their lifestyle. And then I cut every last one of them off. Now they're blocked, broke, and begging to meet a baby they'll never hold. So, I, 38 male, work in operations for a logistics company. Nothing glamorous, but I make solid money and I don't waste it. I've been married to my wife, 34 female, Rachel, for 3 years now. She's the kind of woman who makes life easier, not harder. No drama, no games, just real. Her dad's a mechanic who runs a little garage with 2 lifts and a ton of duct tape, and her mom's retired. Good people. Not flashy, not loud. Now, my family? Whole different scene. Fake polite. They act like they're above everybody but still want handouts when things get tight. They never said anything directly about my wife, but it was always little stuff. She's quiet. She didn't go to college, did she? Her dad works on cars? Like that? Every comment had a smile attached to it, but the message was there. My mom's favorite line was, "We just come from different backgrounds, like my wife's from a scrapyard or something." Still, I let it slide. I figured they'd warm up. My wife never gave them a reason not to like her. She offered to help clean up after dinners, brought my mom little gifts for holidays, even offered to help my sister when her kid had the flu. Nothing changed. The tone stayed the same. About a year ago, my parents started hyping up this cruise, their 40th wedding anniversary. My mom would not shut up about it. Family time, she said. Everyone together. They picked a 7-day cruise in the Caribbean. Nice one too. Balcony rooms, buffets, private excursions, the whole thing. Here's the part nobody knew. I paid for most of it. I covered the cabins for my parents, half for my sister's family, plus I paid extra for the nicer rooms. My mom asked for a little help, and I didn't make a thing of it. I never told anyone how much. I just booked it all through my account and let them think mom and dad were treating the family. I didn't mind, honestly. I make good money, and I thought maybe this would be the thing that made them finally chill with my wife. Like, show her she's part of the group. She even helped me pick the excursions. She was excited. Then, 1 week before the cruise, I get a call from my mom while I'm driving home from work. I put her on speaker. She goes, "Hey, honey, just wanted to touch base before the trip." I said, "Yeah, what's up? Everything good?" Long pause. Then she hits me with, "We decided it's going to be immediate family only on the cruise. So, no spouses." I said, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, just the blood family. It'll be more meaningful. No distractions." Now, I'm not stupid. I asked, "So, is my sister's husband not going either?" Another pause. She says, "Well, that's different. He's been around a long time. It's just, your wife's still new to the family. We don't know her that well." That was all I needed to hear. I didn't argue right then. I just said, "All right, thanks for letting me know," and hung up. Drove home, walked in, sat down at the kitchen table. My wife was cooking and asked if something was wrong. I told her everything. She just kind of nodded and said, "It's okay. I don't want to ruin anything. You should still go." She wasn't mad. She wasn't hurt. That made me even more pissed off. The next day, I sent a text in the group chat. Just the parents, my sister, and my brother-in-law. I said, "Hey, just confirming who's still bringing spouses to the cruise? Want to finalize the meal reservations?" My sister replies, "Me and my husband are both going. We're so excited." Brother-in-law sends a gif of him packing sunglasses or whatever. I waited 5 minutes, then I screenshotted it all and sent it back to my mom. I wrote, "So it's just my wife who's not invited?" She left me on red, didn't respond for 6 hours. Then she sends a voice note that starts with, "I didn't mean it like that." That was when the switch flipped. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight for a seat at their table. I built the table. I paid for it. Hell, I even polished the chairs. They were about to find out what happens when the quiet one stops playing nice. The next day, I called the cruise line and made some adjustments. Nothing major, just asked to upgrade my suite to the penthouse, 2 guests, private balcony. It was expensive. Worth it. I also put a freeze on the 2 cabins under my parents' name. I didn't cancel them yet, just locked them down from any changes. Then I called my bank and flagged the charges for verification. The goal wasn't to cause drama. Not yet. Just control. I wasn't going to say anything to my wife until I figured out who else knew. So I called my sister. Figured I'd play dumb. Hey, I said. Mom told me no spouses. You still going? She laughs. Like full laugh. What? Who said that? Mom. She called me. Said it's just family, no spouses. She goes, that's weird. She literally told me last week she was excited to see my kids in their little swimsuits again. And her husband booked his massage thing already. I go, so you didn't hear anything about spouses not coming? She says, no. Wait, oh my God. Is this about your wife? I just sat there. Quiet. She goes, ugh, I don't want to be in the middle of this. There it was. So she knew. She just didn't think I'd find out. I asked her straight, did Mom say something to you about not wanting my wife there? Another pause. She just said it'd be less complicated if it was just us. Look, don't drag me into it, okay? I'm just trying to keep the peace. I hung up. 10 minutes later, my wife gets a message from my sister on Instagram. It's a picture of sandals. Caption, wish you were coming. You'd love these, haha. Passive-aggressive as hell. So now I knew the entire no spouses thing was fake. Just another way to cut my wife out without actually saying it to her face. They wanted me to show up alone, act normal, pretend everything was cool while they treated her like a side note. That's when I started looking closer. Over the next 2 days, I started pulling up receipts. Not just financial, texts, emails, little things. Like when my mom emailed me asking to add something small to the cruise package. Turns out it was a $480 excursion to some private island. Or when my dad sent me his half of the payment, and it was $300 short. I'd been patching holes for months. I looked at my calendar. Every time my parents had a doctor's appointment, I was the one who filled the prescriptions. I looked at my payment history. Yep, I was still sending $750 a month toward their rent. Had been for nearly 2 years. Never missed. It wasn't just disrespect, it was full-blown dependence. And they still acted like they were doing me a favor by tolerating my wife. I told my wife what I was planning. She told me not to do anything stupid. I said, I'm not doing anything. I'm just letting gravity do the work. I invited 2 cousins, James and Eli. Good guys. Always been cool with my wife. Never made her feel weird. I sent them a message and said, you 2 want in on the suite upgrade? Paid for, no drama, just a chill trip. James called me back immediately. Wait, your parents aren't going? I said, still deciding. He goes, yeah, I heard about the drama. Your sister's been running her mouth. Said your wife's trying to hijack the anniversary trip. I said, hijack a trip I paid for? He goes, exactly what I said. So now even the extended family knew what was up. My sister had already started spinning it, making me and my wife look like we were trying to take attention away from Mom and Dad's special moment. What they didn't know was I'd been screenshotting everything. Every message, every transaction, every fake apology and oops text from my mom. I made a folder, labeled it Family Cruise, Lies, Rent, and Receipts. By day 4, I'd pulled the plug on everything quietly, froze the payments for rent, canceled their cruise excursions, had the bank lock down the cruise charges tied to my card and reissue me a new one, told them it was potential fraud. Not technically a lie, fraud of trust, if nothing else. The next move was timing. I didn't want to ruin the trip. I wanted it to play out perfectly. They were going to show up at the dock thinking it was their big day. Then they'd find out real quick whose name was actually on those cabins. I let my wife pick out her outfits. I told her to go big. Bright colors, sunglasses, the whole tropical vibe. I wanted those cruise pictures to pop. Meanwhile, my sister sends another message in the group chat. Just confirmed spa for mom on day 3. Can't wait. No mention of my wife, no apology, no check-in. Just full-on pretending like everything was fine and she'd gotten her way. That was the last straw. I responded in the group chat, just one sentence. Make sure your bags are packed right. The night before the cruise, I got a voicemail from my mom. 3 minutes long. She said she was hurt that I was causing tension. She said, we just want what's best for the family. And then she hit me with, maybe your wife could use some time apart to reflect. Reflect on what? On being treated like dirt for marrying me? She didn't get a response. The ship was leaving in 12 hours, and I already knew exactly who'd be standing on the dock and exactly who'd be waving from the deck. 2 days before the cruise, I told everyone I was still going. Alone. Just wanted to keep the peace. No one questioned it. My mom replied with a thumbs up. My sister sent a heart emoji. Real deep. Meanwhile, I was on the phone with the cruise line again. I asked if I could fully cancel 2 cabins under my name without notifying the guests. The lady said, as long as it's your credit card and booking ID, You can do whatever you want. Perfect. I told her to cancel both cabins, Mom and Dad's, and my sister's. Then I added travel insurance so the rest of my group wouldn't be affected. I kept the cancellation silent. Didn't touch the group chat. No announcements. Just silence. After that, I logged into the account and rerouted every remaining cent from their cruise credit to my upgraded suite and activities for me, my wife, and my 2 cousins. Private dinner on the upper deck? Booked. Jet ski excursion? Done. Sunset helicopter ride? Why not? My wife was hesitant at first. She thought it was overkill. I told her, this isn't a vacation, it's a reset. The day before departure, I made one final call to the property manager of my parents' apartment. Hi, this is Jack. I'm no longer covering the rent for Unit 4B. She said, oh, are you sure? Yeah, I said. They'll need to figure it out themselves from now on. That was $750 a month back in my pocket. That's groceries. That's savings. That's future stuff. And for people who treat your wife like a burden, that's done. By then, I had also sent screenshots and proof of payments to James and Eli, just so they knew exactly who funded what. No drama, just facts. James messaged me back. This is insane. I can't believe they tried to pull that stunt when you paid for everything. I said, they're gonna believe it real soon. Cruise day came fast. We packed up early. My wife looked sharp. I wore a plain tee, shorts, and shades. I wanted to look relaxed, like I didn't just drop several grand on a masterclass in revenge. We met James and Eli at the terminal. They brought their girlfriends. Everyone was chill, smiling, ready to go. I checked us in early and told the staff, just so you know, there might be a couple people trying to use a canceled reservation. If that happens, please direct them to customer service. It's a private matter. The lady smiled and said, happens more than you think. Boarding started at noon. We got on early and hit the bar deck. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. 12:28. That's when the group chat lit up. Mom, we're at check-in and they can't find our reservation? Sister, what's going on? They said the card on file was declined? Mom, call me right now. Dad, this isn't funny. I didn't reply. Tossed my phone in the bag, leaned back on the lounge chair, and sipped my mango smoothie while watching the ocean. My wife was smiling. She didn't ask what the messages said. She didn't need to. 15 minutes later, my cousin Eli taps me. Dude, check the group chat. I look. Sister, are you serious right now? You stranded Mom and Dad? Mom, your father is having a panic attack. Dad, unbelievable. After everything we've done for you. I typed one sentence. Everything I paid for, you mean? Left it at that. James leaned in. Should we block them too? I said, if they text again, just send a picture. So Eli took a group selfie. Us on the deck, all smiling, drinks in hand. He posted it in the group chat with the caption, best cruise ever. Cheers. Sister left the chat. Mom tried calling me 6 times. I didn't answer once. By 2 p.m., we were sailing. The music was playing. The buffet was stacked, and my phone was on airplane mode. Meanwhile, my parents were probably still standing at the terminal, broke, clueless, and yelling at some customer service rep who didn't care about their little family drama. And I was 3 decks up, watching the sky turn pink. Later that night, after dinner, I send message to them. Next time you decide who's family and who isn't, remember who paid for your seat. And remember what happens when you get cute. And the trip? The best vacation I've had in years. My wife finally got to relax. No judgment, no backhanded comments, just sun, ocean, and peace. The cousins were great company, and we all kept it light. No one brought up the family drama again. We didn't need to. Back home, I found out my parents missed rent. The property manager left me a voicemail thanking me for the heads up and saying they'd already posted a notice on the door. That's when my dad called me from a different number. Left a voicemail. I hope you're happy. You humiliated us in front of everyone. I deleted it. Then I called the pharmacy and canceled the auto refill on their meds. Let them figure out how to cover it now. They made their choice when they tried to cut my wife out. I just finished what they started. The cruise ended the following Saturday. We got home late, sunburnt, and satisfied. My wife looked happier than I'd seen her in a long time. We didn't even talk about what happened with my family. We didn't need to. Everyone saw it. Everyone knew. Next morning, I checked my phone. Missed calls, voicemails, and a dozen text messages, all from different numbers. My mom must have been borrowing phones like it was the 90s. All of them were some variation of, we need to talk, you went too far, or call me back. I didn't respond to a single one. Monday, I get a call from the property manager again. She goes, hi, Jack. Just wanted to let you know, your parents didn't pay their rent. They said it was coming from you. I said, it's not. I told you I was done. She paused for a second and said, well, just so you're aware, we posted a 3-day notice this morning. Good, I said. They'll figure it out. I hung up. 2 hours later, my sister called me from a blocked number. I picked up. You're really letting mom and dad get evicted? She asked. Straight to the point. I said, you mean the same people who tried to ban my wife from a vacation I paid for? Yeah, I am. Jack, they're old. Then maybe they should have acted like adults. She went quiet, then said, they didn't mean it like that. I said, then they shouldn't have done it like that, and ended the call. Next thing I know, she's posting on Facebook. One of those vague posts. Some people are only generous when it makes them feel powerful. I didn't reply, but James did. He commented, you mean like letting your brother pay for your family's entire cruise and then excluding his wife's? She deleted the post in under 5 minutes. Wednesday afternoon, James sent me a message. Said my dad showed up at his house looking for me. Told him I owed the family an apology. James told him, I'm not your son's keeper. You want to complain? Try a mirror. Apparently, my dad stormed off and tried to guilt trip Eli too. Eli just laughed and said, y'all messed with the wrong quiet guy. They had no one left. Nobody wanted to defend them. Even the cousins who weren't close to me were saying stuff like, honestly, I wouldn't have handled it that calmly. The story had made the rounds. Everyone knew the truth now. The silence around my wife? That got real loud in the aftermath. By the weekend, I get a letter in the mail. Final notice from their landlord. Eviction hearing date set. I knew they'd ask me for help again, so I made it easy. I printed one piece of paper. Big, bold letters. You chose this. Mailed it to them. No return address. The next week, I get a voicemail from my mom's friend Karen. Apparently, my mom asked her to reason with me. Karen says something like, this whole situation's just a misunderstanding, Jack. Surely you can find it in your heart to... At that point, my wife pulled me aside. She handed me a little white stick with 2 pink lines. I looked at her. She nodded. I just said, we're done with them for good. I wasn't going to let these people sniff around just because a baby was coming. So I called my lawyer, told him I wanted to prepare a document for no contact terms if any of them tried showing up or interfering with my household again. He said, you want a full cease and desist? Yup, I said. Make it formal. Add trespassing threat language. Let's go all the way. We got it drafted, signed, and ready to send out if they ever cross the line again. I didn't want them near my wife. I sure as hell didn't want them around my kid. The moment I posted the pregnancy photo, just a subtle one, not even showing faces, my phone blew up again. Sister. Wait, are you guys pregnant? Mom. Oh my God, I'm going to be a grandma. Dad, this is the start of healing, son. Let's put the past behind us. I didn't respond. 2 days later, a card shows up in the mail. No stamp. Someone had walked it up. Inside, we forgive you, let's talk. That one went straight into the shredder. I told my lawyer to send the letters. A week later, my parents tried showing up at my house. I saw them on the camera, standing there like nothing happened. No flowers, no gifts, just expectation. Like I owed them one more shot. I opened the door, stood there for maybe 2 seconds while they started talking. Then I said, no, and I shut the door in their face. After I closed the door in their face, I watched on the ring cam as they just stood there for a bit. My dad with his hands in his pockets, my mom whispering something to him like she was hoping I'd change my mind and open back up. I didn't. They eventually walked off, slow like they still didn't get it. Like this was just a phase. I went back inside. My wife was on the couch, one hand on her stomach, other hand flipping through names in a baby book. She looked peaceful, protected. I sat down next to her and said, they showed up. She looked up. You didn't let them in, right? I shook my head. I didn't say anything but no. She smiled, nodded, and kept flipping. That was it. No drama, no fights, just a closed door and silence. A few days later, my sister tried again, this time through her husband's work email. She probably figured I blocked all their personal accounts. The email was some long-winded guilt trip. Babies need grandparents, and family matters most in times like this. She tried to throw in Bible quotes. I didn't even finish reading it. I forwarded it to my lawyer. He said, if they try this again, we can escalate to a formal restraining order. You've got documentation. Do it, I said. So we did. Cease and desist letters went out to all of them, mom, dad, sister, and brother-in-law. Each one certified, with digital copies emailed for good measure. They were officially notified that any further attempts to contact me, my wife, or the child would result in legal action. No response for about a week. Then, one night, I noticed an anonymous comment on my wife's small Etsy page. Just some BS like, too bad your baby won't have a grandma. I tracked the IP, thanks to a friend in IT, and guess what? It pinged near my parents' old apartment complex. Amateur hour. I sent the screenshot to the lawyer. He said, "Want to file a police report?" "Not yet," I said, "but let them know I know." So I posted a screenshot of the comment in the Etsy store update section publicly. Captioned it, "To whoever thinks intimidation works, this store is monitored and protected. Enjoy your eviction." Deleted the comment, kept the warning up. After that, radio silence. By the time we hit the second trimester, my wife was glowing. Nursery was halfway done. I took a side project at work to bring in extra cash. We picked a name. James and Eli were checking in every week. My wife's parents were over the moon. Her dad even built the crib with his own hands in his garage. It was the kind of piece I didn't even know I wanted before. Then, right after the anatomy scan, we found out we were having a boy. That same week, my mom tried one last thing. She showed up at my wife's OB appointment. I didn't even know how she found the clinic. Probably stalked the one place in town that accepted our insurance and waited. My wife called me from the waiting room. "She's here," she said. Calm. She said she wants to talk. I said, "Is security around?" "Yeah, I already told the front desk." 10 minutes later, I got a call from the clinic manager. She said they removed a woman matching my mom's description from the building. No physical scene, but it was loud. Embarrassing. Other patients saw. I filed a report that afternoon. That night, I called her directly for the first time in months. "You ever pull something like that again?" I said, "and I'll file a harassment charge so hard you'll be escorted out of every grocery store that shares our zip code." She started crying. Literally crying. "I just want to meet my grandson," she said. I didn't flinch. "You made your choice the second you excluded his mother," I said. "He'll never know you existed." Then I hung up. Told the lawyer what happened. He said, "We can pursue a permanent injunction now if you want." "Prep the paperwork," I said. A few weeks later, eviction notices showed up on their record. James told me their landlord finally booted them after missing 2 months in a row. Word spread fast through the family. My mom started calling a bunch of distant relatives trying to crash at someone's place. Nobody said yes. Even the ones who used to defend her were starting to back off. Nobody wanted to bring that mess into their house. My dad tried applying for a loan. Denied. Sister was already in debt up to her neck, so she wasn't helping them either. Meanwhile, I put a down payment on a bigger house with a nursery and a backyard. No one knew. No family announcement. Just quiet progress. On moving day, I posted a single photo in the cousin group chat. Baby shoes on a welcome mat with the caption, "Home." James and Eli showed up to help us move. They brought diapers, baby wipes, and barbecue. Real ones. They both asked the same question. "So you really gonna keep them cut off forever?" I said, "You ever see me fold on anything?" They laughed. Later that night, my wife asked, "You think they'll ever stop trying?" I said, "They already did. They just don't know it yet." And I meant it. 3 weeks after the incident, the court approved the permanent no-contact order. Not a temporary warning. Not a slap on the wrist. Full legal recognition that I didn't want them near me, my wife, or my son. If they even drove past my street twice in a week, they'd get served. My lawyer emailed me the paperwork. I printed copies and kept one in my car, one in the safe at home, and one folded into my wallet, just in case. I didn't post anything about it. I didn't announce it. I just filed it, sealed it, and lived. By then, my parents were officially evicted. James told me he saw them trying to move their stuff into a budget motel on the edge of town. Weekly rate, no kitchen. My dad apparently tried to haggle with the desk clerk, told him they were between places. They weren't between anything. They were exactly where they'd put themselves. My sister was spiraling too. Her husband had picked up a second job, graveyard shift at a warehouse. And she was still posting every day on Instagram like she was living in a Hallmark movie gone wrong. All these filtered selfies with captions like, "God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, and not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path." No mention of the cruise, no mention of my wife, no mention of the baby, just bitter little quotes, cropped verses from Proverbs, and low-effort story reposts stretched too thin to cover the fact that her entire world was falling apart. Every now and then she'd send some pathetic, just checking in message from a burner account. I didn't even open them. I forwarded them to my lawyer and hit delete. By now, my wife was in her 3rd trimester. We'd finished the nursery. Crib, changing table, mural on the wall. My wife painted it herself. We didn't do a big gender reveal. Just told James and Eli. They brought over baby gear and said, If you need anything, you let us know. We got your back. I nodded. That was all I needed. One Saturday, I ran into one of my mom's friends at the hardware store. Lady named Carol. She stopped me near the checkout and goes, I heard you guys are expecting. I said, Yep. She smiled and tilted her head. You know your mom's heart is broken. I looked her dead in the eye and said, Then she shouldn't have played games. Carol's smile dropped. Jack, come on. You don't get another mother. I scanned my items. Good thing I'm not looking for one. Then I walked out. Didn't look back. That night, I got a text from a cousin who still talks to my sister. He said, Your dad tried to open a new credit card using your name. Got flagged. I said, Not surprised. I already froze my credit last month. Then I filed a fraud alert just to be safe. The next morning, a letter showed up in our mailbox. Handwritten. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. My mom's. I didn't open it. Just snapped a photo of the envelope, sent it to my lawyer, and tossed the whole thing in the shredder. He said, We can add mail harassment to the record now. One more documented attempt and it's a federal matter. Perfect. My wife asked me later, Don't you ever get tired of being this cold? I said, No. Not when they tried to freeze us out first. She nodded. Didn't press. By the time we hit month 8, they were ghosts. No more calls. No more notes. No more drive-bys. My sister got blocked on every platform that mattered. My parents were off the radar. They had no leverage left. No money. No contact. No narrative to spin. We went home with a backseat full of diapers and baby gear. Every box felt like a win. Couple days later, I got a call from the HR guy at my job. Hey Jack, he said. Just a heads up. Someone called asking for your employment details. Said they were a family member. Who? I asked. Didn't give a name, but it was sketchy. They hung up when I asked for ID verification. I thanked him. Then called my lawyer again. He sighed and said, All right, we'll issue a final formal warning to them. After that, it's direct court action. Let's do it, I said. Send the hammer. The next day, letters went out again. Final notice. No more contact. No third-party communication. No attempt to reach through work, friends, or burner phones. Violation meant escalation. Period. That was the last straw. After that, nothing. Silence. The kind I hadn't felt in years. Then came the due date. Hospital delivery. Smooth, fast, no complications. I held my son and just stared. He looked like his mom mostly. Big eyes, calm, like he knew he'd been born into a storm that had already passed. My wife looked over at me and said, He's never going to know what it's like to be around fake family. Nope, I said. Not a second. We named him Logan. No middle name from my side. No legacy name. No tribute. He was his own legacy now. A week later, we posted one photo. Just his tiny hand gripping mine. Caption, Welcome home, little man. 3 hours later, my sister texted from another fake number. Please, let me meet him. I just want to see my nephew. I blocked the number, then forwarded the message. My lawyer texted me back. Want me to file an injunction? No, I replied. They'll show up again. Save it for then. And when they do, I'll still be ready. Because no contact means no contact. They showed up on a Sunday. I saw them through the camera, my mom, dad, and sister, standing outside our house like they hadn't spent the last year trying to erase my wife from the family tree. My mom knocked. My dad stood behind her, hands clasped. My sister was crying before I even opened the door. I stepped out. They looked smaller somehow. Worn out. Desperate. We just want to see the baby, my mom said. We're sorry, my dad added. We miss our son. My sister wiped her face. Please. Just 5 minutes. I looked at them. No hesitation, no anger. Just years of fake smiles, backhanded comments, and burned bridges standing in front of me like they forgot how matches work. I said one word, no. Then I closed the door, and I never opened it to them again.